tech stocks could fall in half and still be overvalued. This is what's made America great is immigrants coming in like Elon Musk. The mining stocks look like they're really building up for a major explosion upwards, and they're already doing that. In the 21st century, this century, they've gold and silver have actually outperformed the S&P 500.
Okay, ladies and gentlemen, so today we have Mark Skousen, the author of The Great American. And today we will talk about what's happening with the US economy. We will discuss the commodity sector, gold, silver, portfolio structure in the current environment, and many other very interesting topics. So Mark, thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Glad to talk a little bit about the economy and about my favorite founding father, Ben Franklin.
Thank you very much, sir. So we have so much going on with the US right now. We have the situation with the Fed, where there's pressure on the Fed from Trump to lower interest rates. So much going on, sir. So what is your take on the US economy and what are you paying attention to?
I think the Fed right now is really a non-event. I don't know why Trump and all these people are spending so much time about it. Interest rates are it's really hard to affect the economy with just interest rates. You have to focus on the money supply. You have to focus on the value of the dollar. There are other issues that really are far more important. And really, interest rates are very close to what the market rates are. So I don't know what the whole beef is other than Trump, as a authoritarian strongman, wants to control everything. So I think the Fed issue is really relatively unimportant. I think Jay Powell is doing a decent job. What we need to see is better performance on the tax cuts, deregulation, and especially the trade war that Trump has started. I think is going in the wrong direction and is going to have repercussions slowly but surely on the US and the world economies. Everybody is becoming protectionist now and raising rates instead of lowering rates. It's not a good situation.
Yes, it looks like if you try to bully all countries at the same time, maybe that's not going to end well. And sir, if we talk about the US stock market, the current valuations, what are you seeing here with all that? What's going on?
Certainly, the stock market has been one of the more fascinating areas of investment. People are making money hand over fist. The market is roaring ahead to all-time highs in virtually all sectors. It's not just tech stocks, it's financial stocks. I mean, I'm recommending Goldman Sachs in my newsletter. That stock is up 40%. The commodity stocks, our gold is our best. My gold stock is up 120% this year. It's our best performing investment, even better than my tech stocks. So the stock market, Wall Street is working on all four cylinders, and every time there's any positive news, the stock market seems to roar ahead. The biggest concern, of course, is that it's creating an artificial bubble. The whole AI sector is very reminiscent of the dot-com boom of the late 1990s. So it just would not surprise me if we had some kind of an event that caused a bear market to occur on Wall Street. Tech stocks could fall in half and still be overvalued. So, I mean, the price earnings ratios are extremely high, and all the historians, financial historians like, uh, you know, Burt Maciel at Princeton, who wrote a random walk down Wall Street. He normally doesn't predict markets, but he wrote an article in the Wall Street Journal saying that the stock market's getting a little scary. So I'm still a long-term bull. I'm still fully invested, but a pullback at any time is to be expected. We'll see what happens, but definitely overvalued.
And sir, are you seeing any signs of a slowdown with the US economy with recent economic data and everything that's going on?
Yes. In fact, my own statistic, gross output, which measures spending at all stages of production, is uh, is growing at a slower pace than GDP, and that's not a good sign. GO includes the supply chain, and B2B spending has been relatively modest uh, throughout the years. The last couple of years, it's growing only at 1, maybe 2% at the most. If you compare this to the Reagan era, the recovery of the Reagan era, the uh, the economy grew at 7 or 8% for several years after Reagan's program kicked in '83 and '84, and then for the uh, rest of his terms in office, it was 3 to 4%. So Reagan did really well, and the Reagan years were really very positive. And the Trump years seem to be struggling a bit. The stock market's certainly doing extremely well. I think they anticipate positive economic recovery, but the jury is still out. If you look at business spending in particular, has been relatively moribund, and certainly when you cut off trade, and we have countries now that are refusing to send goods, they I mean, one of the stupidest things that Trump did was exempt the $600 exemption. So you can send all kinds of goods under $600 and avoid the exemption or avoid the tariffs. And he's removed that. I mean, it's just beyond me. He's basically adopting a Fortress America policy, and I can understand attacking or threatening and uh, engaging in a trade war with China, who has violated many of the world trade policies. I could see him engaging in protectionist measures and penalties against Russia for the Ukraine war. That I can understand, but as you say, to be a bully on all of these countries, the only thing I can think is that he's his main goal is this Fortress America idea, closing the border to immigrants. I mean, he really has done nothing to bring in legal immigrants. We keep talking about, well, we're all in favor of legal immigration. Well, where's the legal immigration? Those policies have been put on hold. Um, he's kicking students out, students who go to the best country, the best schools, universities in the world are now being told to stay home or to go to other countries. I mean, what benefit is that for America to be the beacon of entrepreneurship? This is what's made America great: is immigrants coming in like Elon Musk and Chang and some of these other great entrepreneurs leading NVIDIA, Microsoft, um, uh, Tesla. I mean, we need these people, and it seems like we're denying this. I think Trump has just gone overboard with his American first policy.
And if we look at the debt levels, of course, we try to look at history to see what might happen in the future, but we never had debt levels like these. So, how worrying is that? And what are you paying attention to in relation to the debts? Is it dangerous? Should we hedge against it in any way?
Well, yes, there's a lot of ways to hedge against a growing debt crisis, which is coming our way. We kicked this can down the road, who knows how many times, and we've gotten away with it because we can export inflation. Um, the dollar, because the dollar is the world's currency, we can export inflation, and it doesn't really hurt us that much. The dollar is being absorbed abroad. The $100 bill is the most popular dollar bill in the country, in the world. Um, so it's it's truly been amazing, the capacity for the world to absorb $36 trillion in dollar denominated debt of various maturities. Um, one wonders how long this is going to last. I've had a number of debates at our Freedom Fest debate. We had a major debate with Steve Forbes and other great economists who were there, to Rob Arnott and others. Uh, a real debate on how long this national debt situation can last. I will say that I do think that the debt levels should go down at some point, with Doge having its impact. I mean, they've had a lot of people don't realize that there's been a freeze on federal budgets, except for the defense spending. There's been a freeze on hiring. In fact, they've laid off a lot of federal workers. You have, I think, a lot of problems that, in terms of employment and so on, that going to suggest that maybe government spending is not going to be increasing as rapidly as we expect. The biggest problem, of course, is Medicare and Social Security is the unfunded liabilities problem. That's the source of the growth in government debt that really concerns me. So that's still a problem, and there's no effort on behalf of this administration to address the unfunded liability problem, other than maybe raising the age of when you can take retirement and Medicare and so forth. Maybe, but there's no effort to privatize, which other countries have done: Sweden, the UK, Mexico, Chile. There's over 30 countries that have privatized all or partial parts of Social Security. Uh, it will help to have these $1,000 accounts in the S&P 500 that is part of the tax legislation. So that's a nice effort, but no real effort to control the expending as we get older, as Americans get older, in Medicare and Social Security. But even welfare, hopefully that's being cut back on the Medicaid and stuff like that. And people who are able-bodied need to get out and start working.
And what does all this situation mean for the US dollar?
Well, the US dollar has been in decline. The strong dollar, king dollar, as Larry Kudlow always advocated, is not happening, mainly because you cut back imports into the US. That means less dollars going abroad, demand for dollars declining. So that is creates a weak dollar. Now, of course, Trump probably wants that because that should encourage exports. But the fact of the matter is that imports and exports tend to move together, not opposites. So what's probably going to happen is imports are dropping and exports will also start dropping. It's called the Lerner theorem, uh, named after Alan Lerner and the economist. And there's the evidence is overwhelming. They tend to move together. So if he wants to really promote exports, he should encourage imports, not discourage them. Now, I do like negotiating trade agreements to reduce the trade barriers, especially for U.S. exports. There's a lot of countries that have non-tariff barriers, licensing agreements, and all kinds of legal restrictions to keep U.S. exports from going to other countries. We need to open up that border, open up the trade agreements. So I'm in favor of more trade and lower barriers. That should be the ultimate goal here, not Fortress America, which is the direction that we're going in this country.
Hmm.
So it's not good for the dollar. Dollar will continue to show weakness, I think. Interest rate, especially if the Fed lowers interest rates, which they're planning to do, apparently, that's probably going to mean the dollar is going to decline, and will mean, you asked about what's a good hedge against this crisis, and gold is the best investment this year and will probably continue to do really well. Maybe the cryptocurrencies, Bitcoin as well. I don't know, but I think I have a better handle on gold as an investment in the mining stocks. This is a great area to be investing. Uranium, also, nuclear power, nuclear stocks would be a very good area to get into. Copper, it's hard to say. Everybody says copper is going to be really a huge demand and stuff. But when Trump imposes a 50% tariff on the imports of copper, I mean, what's that all about? That seems really like shooting yourself in the foot, since copper a copper mine takes 17 years to produce, to create. The U.S. imports a huge amount of copper from Indonesia and so forth, from Freeport McMoran and so forth. Um, and it's an input. Okay, copper is not a finished product. It's an input, and it's going to raise the cost of a lot of products and stuff, and it could create a recession. This whole trade war situation is not good, but it's a mixed message, because you have the permanent tax cuts, which is a good thing, the deregulation environment, that's positive. So it's a mixed bag right now with the U.S. economy.
Yes, so you made a very good transition towards the commodity sector. I would like to ask you about gold and silver. So they have both performed quite well. So I would like to ask you, why would you be interested in those two at the current valuations? And I'm talking about the commodities.
Gold has certainly been in a bullish trend overall. The last 3 months, they're still hovering around 3,400. They seem to go up and down around that area. So they're building a base, if you will, and it could be the top if Trump reverses a lot of his policies, but he's stubborn, and I don't think that's going to happen. So I remain bullish on gold, especially the gold stocks. And gold and gold stocks do not move together. They often move in different directions. And in fact, from 2011, when gold topped out, or when the mining stocks topped out, they had a 10-year bear market, 10 years. And now, meanwhile, gold itself continued to rise. So they moved in opposite directions. Now I think gold has moved up sufficiently that the real profit is in the mining stocks. And I haven't. This is the first time I've said this in 10 years. The mining stocks look like they're really building up for a major explosion upwards, and they're already doing that. And my mining stock recommendation in my newsletter, by the way, is up 120%. It's the best performing major gold mining stock this year. And yes, the silver is an interesting story because it's much more volatile. It's hit $50 an ounce twice in its history, in 1980 and then in 2011. And then drops back down. Thank goodness for that, because I love collecting the American Eagle gold coins. This is the American Eagle gold coin, which is a beautiful coin. Guess how many of these were minted last year? The American Eagle bullion gold, silver dollar. How many do you think?
Oh, I wouldn't know.
50 million. 50 million of these were minted last year. And where are they? Have you seen any of these? Well, you're in Ireland. You probably haven't seen any of them, but you know, very few people see it. Now, this is our symbol of liberty and sound money at Freedom Fest. I encourage everybody to get a silver dollar. And then at the end of our conference, which by the way is going to be July 8th through the 11th in Las Vegas this next year, celebrating the 250th anniversary of our nation's founding. And at the end of our conference, after our closing panel, our speakers and all the attendees who have a silver dollar, so we have hundreds of attendees who come up to the stage, and we have our picture taken holding the silver dollar to be a symbol of liberty and sound money. But the reason these coins are not well known is because they're squirreled away in safety deposit boxes. Even though they're beautiful coins, they have Lady Liberty, the rising sun, Ben Franklin's favorite symbol of America, God We Trust, the eagle on the back. It's beautifully designed and yet not circulating, unfortunately. But look, these coins now cost over $40 to buy one of these coins. A coin that in 1960 was worth $1. And to give you an idea of how gold and silver both have become superior inflation hedges, I recommend, even though they don't pay any interest, they're superior inflation hedges. They've actually, in the 21st century, this century, they've gold and silver have actually outperformed the S&P 500, including dividends. So there's a lot to be said for gold and silver. So here's my favorite example. So in 1960, which is probably before you were born, in 1960, you could go into a bookstore and you could buy a hardback copy of a book for $3. That's all it would cost, $3. $3 silver back in 1960. However, today, how much does it cost to buy a hardback book? Less than $1 silver. So that shows you that in terms of inflation and purchasing power, silver and gold have outperformed uh, their superior inflation hedges. So I recommend people don't go overboard because they're volatile and that trend may continue. I'm still a firm believer in investing in great companies that produce profits and produce products that people can use and they pay dividends. But there's nothing like a little gold and silver squirreled away in case things fall apart.
Yes, and so Mark, we do have these in Ireland. I have um,
Uh-huh.
I have them as well. I have been buying them for I think $16 per ounce back in 2019, 2020. So
Uh-huh.
yes, we do them. And just with the storage of purchasing power, I was looking at the chart recently, and if you look at real estate prices, I know people complain about how expensive real estate is. Well, measured in gold, real estate is actually cheaper right now than it was in 1970, which is wild as well.
Yeah, real estate is a mixed bag. Every investment has its pros and cons. Real estate, especially if you're going to earn income on rental property, well, you're also a landlord and you got to take care of it. The land, not the land, but the property depreciates. The buildings depreciate. You have to work and improve them, and they fall apart. There's all kinds of problems with renters and stuff like that. Your residence might be pretty good. I do think that in the United States, real estate has been a really good investment area, but you need to diversify. You need to have real estate. You need to have gold and silver. You need to have stocks and bonds. You need to have a little crypto, a little bit of everything. Don't go overboard on one area. Well diversified portfolio makes a lot of sense.
Yes, and so Mark, I like to ask this question for the younger audience. If we have a younger individual who's still at the beginning of his or her well building path, and they have so many choices now, as you mentioned, they have the Bitcoins, the Nvidias, the commodities, the things we're discussing. What advice would you have for them so that they can start off their well building path the right way and not make too many mistakes?
Well, it reminds me of there's a couple of quotes from my book, The Maxims of Wall Street. I don't know if you're familiar with it. It's in its 11th edition. It's a quote book. It's short stories on called The Maxims of Wall Street, available on Amazon and so forth, and my own website, skousenbooks.com. And in it, I have a couple of quotes that are applicable. One is from Kevin O'Leary. He says, making it becoming rich is easy if you follow these three key ingredients. You earn money, you save money, and you invest the difference in the stock market. You spend, well, I think he said, spend less, save more, and invest the difference in and make money in the stock market. So that's Kevin O'Leary's recommendations. You really watch you live within your budget. you save regularly, and then you invest that savings productively. The other statement is pretty good, a pretty good statement. It says that the hardest thing in the world is for young people to save and old people to spend. And the reason old people are afraid to spend money is they think they might run out of money before they die and lose their chances. I don't think that happens very often. Most people die millionaires, so it's not a problem. So I'm always encouraging older people to spend more money and travel and see the world and buy your dream home and your dream car and your yacht or whatever you want and travel and come to Freedom Fest and other conferences. Don't ever say, oh, I can't afford that when you ended up dying a millionaire. You can afford it. But for young people, it's hard to save because saving is long term. You save for a house. Well, may take a while before you can put the down payment on a house, and you have to have patience. And the government really discourages saving because they take money out right away in the taxes on Social Security and Medicare and income taxes, and they tax you with the VAT and all of these kinds of things that make it very difficult for a young person to save and then to put that savings to work. And finally, another great quote is to make it concentrate, to keep it diversify. So let me repeat that again. To make it, you concentrate. In other words, you focus on what you know best. And that might be your own occupation. You've trained yourself as an engineer, as a doctor, as a lawyer, an accountant, whatever you've decided to concentrate on and get that degree in, you focus on that and you try to do the best you can in that area. It might even be starting your own business. You concentrate on that. And in investing, it's the same thing. As you're a young person, you can take greater risks. You can buy a new cryptocurrency. You can buy a new AI stock that might increase 100 times. You can put some money into that and take some risk. When you're older and you're in your retirement ages, you don't want to concentrate. You need to diversify because if you make a mistake, that money's gone and it's really hard to make it back. So I think that's really good advice from the maxims of Wall Street.
Yes, that's definitely a very good one. And so, Mark, would you mind telling us about your new book, The Great American?
For some time, I've wanted to write this book. I wrote a series of essays for the Franklin Prosperity Report. It's published by Newsmax. So for about 6 years, I wrote a monthly column on Ben Franklin because he's such a diverse character, a jack of all trades and a master of all. And I came up with 22 careers that he had as an inventor, as a scientist, as a printer, a very successful publisher, as a writer, uh, beautiful writer, as a diplomat, a world traveler. I mean, he did so many things. I came up with 22 careers that he had. So my book is a compilation of these columns, updated, and he's been called by many people as the world's most versatile genius for all the areas that he specialized in. He was able to be very successful, a very useful life, if you will. And so I came up with this book called The Greatest American because Franklin is the kind of guy, if all the founding fathers, he'd be somebody you'd want to sit down and have a beer with because he would be straightforward and tell you about his life, about his mistakes, how he overcame those mistakes, and became successful. A rags to riches story that everybody can relate to. A man who was dirt born, dirt poor, family of 13 siblings, uh, and in Boston, and then apprenticed as a printer with his older brother, and then ran away because they didn't get along. And he ended up as a teenager with no money, totally broke, arriving in Philadelphia and built himself up into the publisher extraordinaire of the Pennsylvania Gazette, which was the New York Times of its era, and even franchised the Pennsylvania Gazette, so it went to other colonies. By the age of 42 in 1748, at the age of 42, he retired. He was so successful financially, he could retire. And what did he do? Did he just play golf every day, relax and count his money? No. He got involved in civic affairs. He got involved in scientific pursuits, studying electricity, the lightning. He invented a new fireplace, uh, and the Franklin stove was very popular, uh, and it was really helpful to heat their homes efficiently with a little less pollution and smoke. The lightning rod was his way of protecting. He would warm the inside of the American homes with the Franklin stove, and he would protect them from fire, from lightning strikes with the lightning rod. So quite inventive and useful. And this is at the end of his life, he said, "I would rather be known that provided a useful life rather than I died rich." So there's a lot to learn from Franklin. So my book, The Greatest American, which is available on Amazon, if you would like to, it's available as an ebook as well, hardback, and an audiobook on Amazon. And then if you'd like an autographed copy signed by me with a rare Franklin stamp, you go to skousenbooks.com, Skousen books.com, and I provide a autographed copy for my book with a rare Franklin stamp for $24, less than the retail price of $29.95. So it's a good deal. But it's 80 chapters based on my columns, plus a lot of updating and new columns, all about how to apply Franklin today. So this is not a typical biography of Ben Franklin. Franklin, lots of biographies have been written by Walter Isaacson, H.W. Brands, all these historians. They are 500-page books on Franklin's life. Mine, I just have a 2-page summary of his life, and then 80 chapters on how to apply Franklin's wonderful life. He lived to age 84. So I've got chapters on business, on investing, on personal finance, business management, being a diplomat. How do you survive a Great Depression? He lived through runaway inflation, hyperinflation, a banking crisis, 2 world wars, and lived to age 84. So I have a chapter on healthy living. And there was one chapter, by the way, I wrote a column. I was mentioning this column I wrote for the Franklin Prosperity Report. So one of my columns was rejected. The theme was too racy. So what do you think the topic was that Newsmax canceled and said, no, you can't run that column? What do you think the topic was?
Oh, I have no idea.
I gave you a hint, racy. It's a really racy topic. What would that be? Franklin's known to be a famous womanizer, right? So it was the chapter on sex. Was censored by Newsmax, but you'll be happy to know that chapter 77 is that chapter on the hard to govern passions of Ben Franklin. He's been accused of being a womanizer. I consider him more a ladies' man. And he was actually a very supportive of women's rights and admired them for their intelligence and their action and not just their sex and their beauty. Franklin had one illegitimate child, which he admitted to in his autobiography. You wouldn't get that from George Washington or Thomas Jefferson. I mean, why? If you ask Thomas Jefferson, tell me about your sexual relationship with Sally Hemings, your slave, he would say, "Oh, that's off topic. You're not allowed to ask that question." Franklin admitted he wrote about it, so he would be one who would be willing to talk about how he learned to engage and control his passions. He married Deborah, his wife. They raised their natural born son, William, as well as having two other children. So he was a devoted husband. They did get estranged when he went abroad as the London agent, and she passed away. And then he, as a widower, he was in Paris as the ambassador. But he was his whole story about his relationships with women and stuff is really quite fascinating. So that's chapter 77 of the book.
Yes, I will be buying this book after this interview, Mark, for sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Guys, if you are interested, I will have the link in the description. And again, Mark, thank you very much for being here. I really enjoyed the conversation, and I hope to have you back, sir.
Thank you. My pleasure. Take care. Be free, as Franklin said.